Hey everybody, it's RaceCar0 here from ForgeWatch.com. I am trying to set up a proof of concept about one of these big ruling points that we talk a lot about on the forums. In this particular instance, the fact that creature death isn't actually checked until after all triggers have gone through their processes, if you will. We've got a lot of pretty big discussions about this, some really great examples. If you go to solforgewiki.forgewatch.com and check out the rules page that we have on the wiki, it'll have one of these examples in there. And so I think this is a really great opportunity just to kind of show you where some of these rulings that we make up kind of come from. And a lot of it's actually just based out of the client and things that we actually see in the client. So I'm going to hop into SolForge. I have set up the first of probably two examples that I'm going to show you. We'll hop in and resume this last game and take a look at the board setup. So if you look here, this particular board setup, we've got a Vengeful Spirit, we've got a Krogius, and we've got a Flameshaper too, kind of opposing each other. And the big thing that we're going to do first here is we're going to play a Magma Hound across from the Vengeful Spirit. So the way that the game processes things is what they call first in, first out, or FIFO, as we often shorten it to, which means that things that get played first will do their triggers first. So that's why I'm not actually doing the Magma Hound's trigger right now, because I am currently, the Flameshaper was already in play, so it goes first, and I get to pick a target for it. So the big debate here is whether or not, say if I were to ping the Vengeful Spirit, does Vengeful Spirit die and then trigger, killing the Magma Hound before it has a chance to, say, ping the Krogius off in the far lane. So some people would maybe think, oh yeah, you know, if I go and I kill the Vengeful Spirit right now, that means the Magma Hound's going to die and it won't actually even have a chance to do anything. But just to kind of show you as an example of how this all works, I'm actually going to end up picking a target. So I'll pick the Vengeful Spirit as my target. Which you can't actually see me tapping it, but trust me, I just tapped the Vengeful Spirit. And now you'll see the Magma Hound actually comes up. Vengeful Spirit is not dead, nor has it triggered yet. It's still waiting for its moment to actually trigger, which is on death. So death actually hasn't been checked, even though technically the Flameshaper has killed it at this point. So if I target Krogius, the interesting thing is what you kind of see happening here is the computer just asking you to pick targets for things, and then it will actually go through and do them in the correct order. But you'll still see this all kind of work out. So as soon as I pick Krogius here, you will see both the Magma Hound, the Vengeful Spirit, and the Krogius are dead. If creature death was actually checked kind of at in-between points, Krogius wouldn't die. He would actually still be alive, because essentially what would happen is Vengeful Spirit would get hit, would trigger its on-death trigger, killing Magma Hound before it has a chance to actually ping the Krogius. So just so you can kind of see how all this works, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Krogius now. And you see everything just kind of happens. And interestingly enough, you'll actually see, if you go back and look at the video, you'll see how it actually worked. You'll see the animations first for both Flameshaper and for Magma Hound, killing the Vengeful and killing the Krogius first, and then after that happens, not at the same time, but actually after it all happens, you see the Vengeful Spirit's ability trigger and kill the Magma Hound. So this is just the very first proof of concept about how whenever you have an event, so in this case the event being when a level 1 card like Magma Hound comes into play, or when Magma Hound comes into play being the event, we go for the triggers for that event, which was Flameshaper first, because it's triggering off of a level 1 entering. The second trigger was Magma Hound doing its damage to Krogius. That all resolves, and then dead creatures die. So then we see Vengeful Spirit die. When it dies, it has its own trigger, which will then kill the Magma Hound. So first proof of concept. I'll see if I can work up another one here for you and tack it on to the end of this video before I upload it to YouTube. Alright, so I finally think I got another good example set up here. So we'll go ahead and hop into our SolForge game. Let it load up here. We'll resume the game. And all I have to say is thank goodness that you can electronet your own creatures as well as opposing creatures. Because as you can see here, I'm at player level 9 trying to get this example set up for you guys. So here we have the case of double Flame Shapers and an opposing Grimgaunt, who, as you may know, gets bigger every time a creature dies. So he's only got 3 health. Flame Shaper does 3 damage at this level. So what I'm going to do, just kind of, again, prove how the order of things works, and just so that way you know how these cards were played as far as first in, first out goes. It was Flame Shaper, Vengeful, and then Grimgaunt, so kind of in that order. But that's not really going to be as important as just kind of recognizing the fact that, say, if I ping the Vengeful Spirit, which is only at 2 health, with one of the Flame Shapers, Grimgaunt will not trigger from its death because it actually isn't considered dead yet. So it will not be enough to save it if I ping it from the other Flame Shaper. As you might think it would. So, you know, for instance, if I target the Vengeful Spirit, it's not like that trigger resolves, Vengeful Spirit dies, and say if I were to play the Lightning Worm across from it, Lightning Worm then dies, and Grimgaunt gets like 2 buffs, all from the first Flame Shaper trigger, and then I get the second Flame Shaper trigger, and then I can go kill, or go target Grimgaunt, and Grimgaunt would survive. No. In this case, both Vengeful Spirit and Grimgaunt are going to die, and so is technically Lightning Worm, which I'm going to play across from Vengeful Spirit, just to kind of show how all of these interactions work. This is a really fun, great example. So here I'll just drag this across from the Vengeful Spirit. You'll see I get the first trigger from the Flame Shaper, which I will target Vengeful Spirit there on the left, and then I will target Grimgaunt on the right, and then you'll see that both of those die, and then the Lightning Worm dies. So again, it's the Grimgaunt didn't have a chance to actually to get its triggers because it was already considered dead. Dead creatures don't trigger. Well, with the exception of something like Vengeful Spirit, which has a specific trigger for when it dies. But normally the rule is that dead creatures don't trigger unless it's triggering on that card's death. So in this case, Grimgaunt was dead, so he can't trigger from the other creatures dying, as you might think could possibly happen in that whole trigger scenario. So anyway, this is just a second example for you to look at as to how first in, first out works, how events and triggers work in SolForge. This is one of those finer points that I think a lot of people who are really trying to study how SolForge works might get a little caught up on, and things might not necessarily work the way that they think they do, especially if they're coming from other games where things work differently. Just understand that this is how SolForge works, at least for now. This is obviously just the demo. We haven't even hit beta yet. We're not even at the final release. Any of this stuff could change, but for now, this is how it works. We've got these events where you have an event that happens. So in this case, it was playing Lightning Worm out. You have the triggers to that event, which were the 2 Flame Shaper triggers. Those had to completely resolve, and then after every event and its triggers, you always get that check for creature death event that follows after, and any creature that has 0 or less health then is considered dead, and then that event is followed by another set of on-death triggers like Vengeful Spirit. Or if Grimgaunt had stayed alive, then Grimgaunt would have gotten buffs from dead creatures at that point, but since he was dead, he didn't. Anyway, feel free to check out the wiki. It's got a really great explanation for a lot of this stuff. Check us out at ForgeWatch.com, where we're bringing you all of your news and strategy and community highlights for SolForge. And I hope you enjoyed this video and it maybe helped you to learn something that you didn't know before.